We are our stories. In my story that I'm going to share, I unconsciously cast myself as a woebegone, antagonistic protagonist. But my conscious self felt I was justified because I was on the path of possibility. You see, my anything is possible imagination is one of my biggest weaknesses because I delude myself into thinking I can change something that usually can't be changed. And then it opens me up for all sorts of mayhem. And also, I sort of create a negative, karmatic aura. The Dalai Lama says that karma moves in two directions. If we act virtuously, the seed we plant results in happiness. But if we act non-virtuously, suffering results. Suffering, what I learned is you can only stretch non-virtuous karma just so far because it's like a rubber band. It will come back to smack you. Several years ago, I placed second in a Toastmasters speech contest, and I really thought I had the winning speech. I had practiced and I had practiced. And I even had people in the audience tell me that I should have won, which made it even more difficult to accept that decision. I was very disappointed, but felt powerless to do anything about it. And then I got an email. Because I was the runner-up, I was invited to go to the conference where the regional contest would be held. At first I thought, well, that's like rubbing salt in the wound. And then an epiphany. Of course I needed to go. What if I was needed? The universe was sending me a message. It was my destiny. The seed of possibility was planted, and all I had to do was water it. And my delusional thinking blossomed into a scenario where the winner of the contest would just have a minor mishap, like a bout of laryngitis, and I would take his place. I believe those are similar thoughts to the runner-up in the Miss America contest. So I started practicing, and that's when I went down a non-virtuous karma chasm of self-inflicted suffering. When I checked into the hotel the conference weekend, the clerk asked me if I knew what Linda meant in Spanish, and I said, "Beautiful," and he smiled. It was another sign. I floated to my room on a cloud of possibility, changed into my jammies, and set out a bottle of red wine. Now, I had one of those corkscrews that you twist, and the wings come up. And so I started twisting, and this was the hardest cork I'd ever encountered. So I switched arms because I didn't want to build up too much muscle on one arm. And I'm twisting, and the wings came up, and I pushed on them, and one broke off. So now I started vigorously yanking the corkscrew back and forth, and guess what? It snapped. Mildly frustrated, I started stabbing the cork with the corkscrew. Chop, chop, chop. Little pieces of cork flew all over the place. And then the cork plopped into the bottle, and red wine went all over the counter and the floor. Well, reaching for one of the white towels to clean it up, I heard my mother's voice in my head, "You'll ruin those towels." And so I cleaned up with toilet paper. My trash can looked like a murder had been committed. I slipped into bed with my glass of wine and eventually dozed off. Then I was awakened by bedlam up above me. This hotel had all hardwood floors, and a herd of buffalo with roller bags was upstairs. It took them at least a half an hour to calm down. I started to doze off, and then I heard a rhythmic bed sound that could not be mistaken for anything other than what it was. Fortunately, it only lasted for 5 minutes. I slipped back to sleep. And then, hours later, I was jolted awake by an airplane flying directly into the window of my room. I didn't realize the hotel was at the end of a runway, and the pilot must be misjudging his ascent. I threw myself out of bed and curled up in a ball on the floor, breathing heavily and praying loudly. And then I realized the plane was going overhead. I calmed my heart. I got back into bed. and finally fell back to sleep. When I was awakened at 6:30 by the alarm, I jumped into the shower, and when I came out dripping wet, I realized I didn't have a hairdryer. Now, some of you may think, what's the big deal? Trust me, this needs a hairdryer. And what if I'm called to the stage? I need to look my best. You know those little signs in hotels that say, just call us if you left something home? I called, and they said, we don't have hairdryers. Well, I think the desk clerk recognized the desperation in my voice. What do you mean you don't have a hairdryer? And he offered to see if someone had left one behind. I was in luck. Threw on some clothes and with dripping hair, went and retrieved it. I don't think he was thinking beautiful anymore. When I arrived at the conference center, I ran into the winner of the contest, and he was in perfect health. Then my delusional mind started to think maybe he'll leave the building and he won't be able to find his way back. Apparently, karma had not smacked me hard enough. Well, as you can imagine, this story did not have the happy ending that I had hoped for. I did not participate in the contest. And I'm ashamed to say I was happy that he did not win. When I left the conference center, I noticed a little cafe that I had not seen before. And there was a sign outside that said, "Welcome to the Karma Cafe. There are no menus. You get what you deserve." Thank you. Thank you.